The volume is
Good evening. Could I ask everyone to please stand for the posting of our flags and the Pledge of Allegiance?
Post, colors, post. Please join us in the pledge allegiance to the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. You may be seated now.
Welcome, and thank you to the members of our VFW for their attendance tonight. It's wonderful to see everyone here. Thursday, May 30th, 2019, for Midlothian's 2019 State of the Village Address. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Village Clerk Alan Moskal. Whether you're here in person tonight or you're watching this address on Facebook Live, the Village Board thanks you for your time and interest in tonight's presentation, and we hope that you will find it informative. I think it's good and healthy for organizations to go through this exercise of having a State of the Organization address. It's good for introspection and for communication and for planning. We appreciate the Mayor's efforts to prepare and present this address tonight, and also for the great help of the village department heads and staff. All of Midlothian's elected officials, trustees Karen Kreis, Jerry Gillis Jr., Don Killelly, Carl Ivan, Sandy Crowley, and Kathy Caveney, and myself, I feel comfortable saying that we share Mayor LaRue's focus on transparency, fiscal responsibility, and community engagement. Whenever we talk about governance in our wonderful country, we're talking about shared governance. In the village of Midlothian, that's a collaborative effort between our village department heads, the elected officials, and residents. And you, the village residents, are the boss in that equation. Would you please join me in welcoming Mayor Gary LaRue.
I don't like to stand in front of a podium. Thank you, Clerk Moskal. I don't think it's going on. As usual, I prepare notes, so I won't follow the notes. But I just wanted to start off by thanking Clerk Moskal and Deputy Clerk Clackey, Sharon Johnson, our front office clerk, and Sandy Crowley for doing everything to put this all together. So it's a wonderful event, and I'm glad to do it, and I will do the best I can. I'm not a good speaker, as I tell you guys every time I speak, but we have a lengthy agenda, so I'll try to get through it as best and as quick as possible. I'll try not to rush too fast, so I get a little nervous and start to talk too fast, but like I said, a lot of information here. Let's start off with the elected officials. Of course, myself and Clerk Moskal, and he went through the other trustees. Trustee Karen Kreis is our community development liaison. Jerry Gillis Jr. is our fire department and historical society. He's better known as our historical person. You know, he's a master of history in Midlothian. And Trustee Kathy Caveney is building department, and Trustee Crowley is in charge of the police department. Trustee Carl Ivan, I didn't see him here yet tonight, but finance administration. And Trustee Killey, I don't see him either, in charge of public works. So we put together this one nice picture of the happy family. But what I want to say is the trustees are considered a part-time position in Midlothian. And I just want to tell you that couldn't be farther from the truth. the time and energy and effort they put into making Midlothian a better place is overwhelming, and quite frankly, it's very humbling. So I'd like to thank them all personally. Thank you. That is a nice picture, though, right? So we always start off with the finances because I think that's what a lot of people are interested in. Our finance committee was put together a number of years ago, and they do meet on a regular basis to discuss and analyze issues and make recommendations for the village board. We think it's very important to take this out of the board setting originally to have a smaller group setting. We include the treasurer so that we can hear what she sees and believes and can forecast in the future. So we think this is an important step. And then also the board periodically analyzes the bond refunding opportunities to take advantage of the market trends. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in another part of the presentation. But that's also important. We are in debt through bonds, and we are trying to pay those back as best as possible. We have a good strategy to pay them back. And there's always an opportunity to do better with interest rates and stuff like that. So we continue to abate the majority of that debt service. That's what I'm talking about, these bonds that we have out there. We do have to levy some of it, but for the majority of it, we do abate that portion on your tax levy. And the village continues to abide by its self-imposed tax cap. When home rule was put in place, was voted in by the residents, the fear was that, well, you give the village board to raise your property taxes as high as it wanted to, and that's true. But the village board at that time passed its own ordinance capping its tax to what the state caps it at. So we're pretty proud of that. We plan to stick to that, and I don't see any changes. So this was on here last year. We think this is very important because we hear a lot. We get a lot of feedback from residents that says that I pay a lot of taxes in Midlothian, I pay high taxes, and how come I don't get this done or I don't get this done? So here is a breakdown of where your tax dollars go. And as you can see, the village of Midlothian is only 17% of your tax bill. So there's another slide, I think, next or later on. The average tax bill in Midlothian is $6,000. So 17% of that is roughly $1,000. So out of the $6,000 that you're paying, only $1,000 of it goes to the village of Midlothian. That's not a lot of money to do all the services that the village does, and payroll and benefits, and there's another slide that'll show that too. But so 17% is not a lot that comes to the village, and we do the best we can with it. I think we're very frugal with your tax dollars, and we kind of like to see the other parts go a little bit down, but that's just an important slide because we hear that a lot. So here we show a breakdown of all the surrounding towns and what they pay, what their average tax bill is with a market value of $150,000. So you can see that Midlothian is right there in the middle, $6,100. So we're very aware. The farther west you live, especially west of Cicero, taxes are way higher. We're very aware of that, but we're just trying to go apples to apples and see where we compare to the other towns. And as you can see, we're right in the middle. So Treasurer Britton is here tonight. She's come up with the working on 2019 budget, and this is the breakdown of where our revenues are going to be coming from. As you see, the two big ones are, of course, sales tax and property tax. Now think about it. We're only getting 17% of your tax bill to fund everything that the village does. We have a roughly $10 million annual budget. This is not a lot of money. So we really have to do a lot of work, continue to do a lot of work on this sales tax and try to get some new business in town. We still have, unfortunately, a number of empty stores. There's issues in those areas where those empty stores are at, but again, we'll talk later in the presentation about opportunities that are going to be out there for us. So yeah, those are two big revenues. What I say about the expenses. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Salaries and benefits, I think we're pretty aware of that. Here's things that we are working on with water. We're looking at trying to reduce our water loss so that we're not paying money to Midmark to get our water that we're not getting paid from the residents to use. And our debt service, we talked about a little bit We're going to try to look at some refinancing issues and opportunities, and hopefully we can get that down. Of course, we'd love to be able to put more money into these capital projects, which again is what people see. They see the streets and they see, the things they see. So we'd love to get more money into that, and we're going to have to figure out a way to, change that around a little bit. So debt service, water purchase, maybe insurance, I don't know. So the colors aren't here. Well, yeah, they are. But so you can see 2010, 2011, we took a huge hit in our sales tax. And it took us a long time to dig out of that. And the next slide will show us where we were not good. So you can see the trend is going up. Had a little dip here, just a tiny dip here in 2019. We're not really sure about, that's just a projection, and we think if we can continue to work with the land bank and get some new unique businesses in town, I think we could try to get that up a little bit. But these are conservative figures that the treasurer brings to us, so that we're not pie in the sky, thinking that everything's rosy and glory. We want to make sure that we're doing the best for the village of Midlothian and taxpayers. So here was the one I was going to say, the red. You can clearly know what red means. 2013, 2014, and even 2015, it was tough. It was dire. We were in bad shape, and through some hard work and fiscal responsibility and getting some new people in place, we were able to fight our way out of it, and our heads above water. We're nowhere near where we were, of course, in 2010 and 2011, but nothing says that we can't get back there. So that's one of those areas that we can increase that revenue part on our pie scale. So we wanted to give a breakdown of what our community is. Alan told me there was 2 clicks to this. There is. So basically we have a little over 5,800 housing units, and the medium price is $140,000. So that's why we picked that $150,000 dollar amount to judge the taxes on. Good news is the home values have increased over the last year by 6.7%, and Clerk Moscow is telling me that we think we're going to go up another 2.8%. That's a good sign. Again, we were one of the towns that was hit pretty hard with the downturn, but I think we're doing some good things, and we're bringing that back. There's going to be some information later in presentation that's going to even help that more. Here's our demographics. This was, I presume, from the 2010 census, which leads me into it is time for the 2020 census. Just met with the district representative from the Census Bureau, and we're going to begin a little census committee to try to get those numbers accurate, because it's very important that those numbers are accurate in the village of Midlothian, because it guides our representation, and it also guides federal dollars, tax dollars that come to us. So we want everyone counted. We want the best representation that we can get from the state, and of course we want as much money as we can get from the federal government. So we'll start that later this year. We'll start a campaign, and it's got to be done by the end of next year. So you'll be hearing more about that. We'll look for that in your newsletters and on the village website. Okay, so we're going to go back and look at 2018 a little bit. There's some slides on here that we used in our last address, but I think it's important that we keep focused on this. First and foremost, we got our police department, community police-based police department. I think Chief Delaney has done a great job with, as Trustee Crawley says, the warm and fuzzy. We want our police officers to be out in the community. We want them interacting with our residents and our kids, and I think that's what they're doing. And I think you see that in these pictures. Our cop on top. I think that was from National Night Out there. Probably the touch-a-truck at the library. I'm not sure what the fourth one is, but just a few slides to show that our police department is out there in the community. They are working with our kids. They are working with the residents, and we couldn't be prouder of what they're accomplishing. The other one was the water bills for the seniors. we heard a lot from our seniors about why are they paying for water that they're not using. So the village board listened, and they implemented a exemption for our seniors so that they're only paying for what they're using. 565 seniors so far have filed, and renewal applications will be going on in July. And just want another note that the village board just recently voted to cut the late fee on your water bill in half. So I think that was a good move as well. I don't think anyone on the board agreed that 20% was a good late fee charge. The other thing we kept hearing about was transparency. We wanted to get our meetings out there in the open, online. So thanks to Helmut Lipp over here. He's at every meeting, and he videotapes it. He goes on Facebook Live, and he also posts on YouTube. We also, Trustee Killy got the newsletter back going. Hope you like it. We'd like to hear some feedback from you guys. You know, you get in the newsletter at home. What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? What more would you want to see in it? You know, cost is always a factor. It's kind of expensive to put this out to every household, but we think it's important to try to get as much information out to you all as often as possible. We had an event at the library not too long ago, the On the Table event, and that was the one thing that came up from every table that was there, communication. So we're trying our best to get on social media. We're doing the newsletter. We're trying to upgrade get our village website better. We're trying to get more information on there. Trustee Cavaney brought to us, we got to get a community calendar on there so we have one central location for all the community events. So it's still a work in progress, but I think we're doing better. But again, we want to hear from you guys what would be good for you to get the information. And then Clerk Moskal and Deputy Clerk Clackey brought to us the board docs. It's a cloud-based agenda system. It's going to save us thousands of dollars a year. I don't know the exact number, but it's in the thousands a year in paper. Unfortunately, I'm old school. I kind of like the paper. I like something to write on, but I'm getting used to it. Clerk Moskal's dragged me along to get me there. But Deputy Clerk Clackey still gives me a hard copy of the agenda, and I have to look at the board docs to look at all the stuff on the agenda. But it's a great system, and they also give us quite frequent emails about what's going on with how other boards do business and what they do right, what they do wrong. So it's a great system, and we know it's going to pay off for us. Excuse me. So we did outsource the water billing. It was just more efficient. It was just cost-effective move to go out to a company that's what they do for a living. Like I said before, we're trying to improve the website. We're limited. It's it's a fairly inexpensive website, so we're kind of limited on what we can do with it. We can use a lot of links, which we do, but we're doing the best we can with that. Trustee Crowley's been working hard with Proven, having monthly or monthly meetings, right, with the IT. Realize that we have a very aging infrastructure in our IT department, so we're looking at replacing servers and equipment, and it hasn't been painless. There's been some rough patches along the line, but change is good, and we got to try to work together to make it better. Disaster recovery plan, and of course, I still would like to see the village go to monthly water billing. I think that's just a better way for the residents to budget, and I think it's a better way for the village to have monthly revenue coming. So I think it's better for both the village and the residents. So these are some of the stuff that happened in the last couple of years. We left them up here, but I just wanted to have you focus on Lot Michoacana, Azteca ice cream place over in Cicero, the old Wendy's building. Fantastic. If you get a chance, go as often as you can. It's a great place. I recommend it highly. But there was a long list of recently opened. You might have been to some of these. You might have seen some of these. And of course, there's, again, slides later on with the land bank, but Gracie's Wine Bar is the one next to Cousins. It's the same owner. He was able to take a long-time dilapidated vacant building and turn it into something pretty nice. So we're doing okay.
people are still interested in Midlothian. Businesses are interested in Midlothian, and that's always a good sign. So I constantly get reached out to by developers and business people. They're interested in Midlothian, so that's a good sign. And we thank every business in town to making Midlothian their home, and we can't be more grateful to have them here. Am I going too fast? I feel like I'm rushing through. Okay, so we wanted to still highlight some of the stuff from last couple years. Of course, you all see the beautiful elevated water tank. Trustee Ivan had nothing to do with the color scheme. We spent $900,000 in road resurfacing, and that's something I wanted to touch on. I'm glad it's on the slide. We hear the same, again, we hear the feedback that I pay a lot in taxes, and why isn't my road getting redone? Our roads get redone through that motor fuel tax money. That's what primarily pays for our road resurfacing. So if you're going out of town to find your gas cheaper, that means Midlothian is not getting the money to resurface our roads. So just something to think about. No one likes taxes. I get it. None of us here like taxes, but we need money to pay for these things, and that's the way to pay for our roads. We did the Jolly Homes drainage study. This is about stormwater. Trustee Crowley was gracious enough to open her house to her residents. They brought lots of pictures and information, and based on this study that the village paid for, Robinson Engineering went out and applied for a grant, and they were successful in getting it. We were just notified a couple weeks ago that the village is going to receive a little over $500,000 to design a project to fix the stormwater there, problems there in Jolly Homes area. This other big red area, this is the area that Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, they mandated to every municipality that they had to inspect 10% of the worst sanitary sewer systems in their towns. So that was the area that was identified in Midlothian. The problem is stormwater is getting into our sanitary sewers, and MWD just does not want that. If your sanitary sewers get overtaxed, it goes to the reclamation places. They get overtaxed, and it gets dumped into the lakes and rivers. Big no-no. They don't want that. So we're being mandated to look into this area. It'll probably go village-wide, every village, every city, but right now it's at 10%. So we did the study. We found some deficiencies, and there'll be some slides a bit later that'll show you what we're looking at specifically. But again, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money that we didn't have that we were mandated to spend. Just a point of reference, Midlothian is a two-pipe system, sanitary pipe and a stormwater pipe. So we've heard the other feedback that why don't you just tie into the deep tunnel? Towns with two pipes aren't allowed to tie into the deep tunnel. So we have the two separate systems. Now we have to figure out how we're going to fix stormwater from getting into the sanitary sewers. Let's see. So Trustee Cavney was instrumental in getting us on the community rating system. That is a national flood insurance program. It's voluntary, but what she was able to accomplish in just the first year, we were a little nervous. We were a little nervous. But bottom line is we came in at it's a 1 to 10 rating system. 10 is the worst. We were pretty concerned that we're going to come in at a 10 because we didn't really know what we were doing. But I guess we did. And we came in at a 7. 7 gave a 15% discount. Anyone that has to pay flood insurance, you should have received a 50% discount on your flood insurance. If you haven't, please contact us. We'll figure out what we got to do about it. The higher you go up, the more discount. So now we're working on becoming a 6, and that would be a 20% discount, correct? So our goal is to keep getting better at that. It has a lot to do with building codes, building permits, development in flood zones and floodways, floodplains. So we're doing good, and that was a big move. Did I cover everything? I think so. A lot of information here. So We talked about the Jolly Homes study and then the subsequent grant that Trustee Cavaney worked diligently with Robinson Engineering at applying for. And again, we were told that we applied for $400,000, and we were told that we're going to get over $500,000, which is phenomenal. You never get more than you ask for. We also know that Belly Button Hill is a source of floodwater, stormwater problems, and also Bremen Heights. And of course, we got the Trib Sea, the tributary sea over there, central through Laverne out to the Turnpike. So you see some pictures here. You know, listen, we know that Midlothian floods. Midlothian's flooded since its inception nearly 100 years ago. Things have been done over the years, and it's just it needs more work. And the people that are in these areas, they know they experience every time it rains, and God knows it's been raining a lot lately. So if it could stop raining, that would be great. But it's not. So we got to come up with ways to do this. So we're hoping to get that $500,000 soon to start the design phase for Jolly Homes. Superintendent Sperry has put money in his budget to do a study at the Belly Button Hill area. And then Bremen Heights is a tough one. Anyone here live in Bremen Heights? By the ditches, and it's a tough area. I know a number of years ago, the village went to the residents over there and asked if they would like to get sewers and curbs, and it was overwhelmingly shot down. So at that time, the village did go in and clean out all the ditches. They replaced all the culverts on the driveways, and it's just not enough. We're just getting more water more often, and we've got to do something. And thanks to the groups out there, Midlothian, I know that they've worked so hard in getting that Natalie Creek project going. I think that's on the later slide. People know us. It's because of them. People know us. People hear us. And we're getting the attention that, we deserve. But they brought that. It was just, so it was pretty impressive. So we're talking about our downtown area. I talked about some limitations in our empty properties in our downtown. Part of it is that it's in a floodplain. So any of these properties that are in a floodplain, they're very hard to market because FEMA doesn't allow you to invest too much money into them. So we've had some opportunities. We had some people come in and want to buy and redevelop some of these properties, but they're not allowed to spend that much money because FEMA won't insure them. So we have this on our slide here because that's something that has to be addressed at some point down the road. So it also affects, there's 330 some properties, residential properties over here. It affects a lot of people, but our biggest thing is if we can get the whole Midlothian Creek out of the floodplain, then we'll have a lot of people, help a lot of people over there, including our downtown. Oh, there we go. Oh, look at you. Oh, fancy. So we talked about this area of town where we believe is the worst of our sanitary sewers. This is the inflow and infiltration problem that we're having, stormwater getting into our sanitary sewers. We've done the study, we've done the inspections, and now we're looking at making the repairs. So looking at this, one of the sanitary sewer manholes, we have a very aging infrastructure. The manhole lids sit down and they leak. So all that stormwater is getting into the sanitary sewer. So we're looking at doing that. We're able to rehabilitate our $3 million gallon reservoir. This one over at Clare, it needed some work for a long time, and fortunately we were able to get that repaired. That's your drinking water. That's where your drinking water sits. So it needs to be fixed. It needs to be kept up. And then, of course, the new water tower. So here we talked about the Natalie Creek project. MWRD came through with basically a $9 million project. And it's, Nally Creek is the one that runs down 146th, basically, and then down through Costner, Kilbourne, and then meanders through into all the way over to Tinley. Tinley, correct, Karen? It actually starts in Tinley. Elk Forest and Tinley. So, big project. It's just started. They started clearing the trees over there, Kilbourne, Costner. I'm sure you noticed that. And they shut down Kilbourne to start the culvert replacement over there. It's going to include, you really got this. It wasn't like this on my computer. So a typical culvert is a 5-inch diameter. These are going to be replaced with 7-foot high, 26 wide. So it's going to be more like a bridge. It's going to look more like a bridge. It's really going to open up that water flow. That's going to happen in 5 different areas. Oh. And then there's a lot more to this project, obviously, but shoreline, help me with the term, stabilization, thank you. But the culverts are the big one. 149th and Kilpatrick, we all know. I mean, you've seen the videos, you've seen the pictures. It's torrential over there. Horrible problem with the existing culverts. That's all going to be ripped out. That's probably the biggest part of the project, but there's going to be 4 others that are going to go in, plus the stabilization and cleaning, and it's going to help a lot of people. It's not going to help everyone in the area, but it's going to help hundreds. So we thank MWD and everyone that had anything to do with getting that project going. But it's finally started, and we're very excited about that. Oop, wrong way. Okay, so this goes back to the inflow and infiltration, where we've done the study, we see what the problems are. Now we have to go to the property owners and advise them of what they're doing wrong. This is all MWRD mandated, it's nothing the village is doing. But it's important that we identify the areas that stormwater is getting into the sanitary sewer. So this is the area, if you live in any of this yellow area, these are the areas that we'll be looking at. And what we're finding is people have their downspouts from the roof tied into their sanitary sewer. We see that they have drains here and there's steps down to their basement. That's also tied into their sanitary sewer. That's going to have to change. All MWRD is asking right now is to do the cheapest fix. So they're not asking us to tell property owners to dig up their whole sanitary sewer out to the street. It could come, though. It could come to that. So right now we're just looking at trying to do fixes like this. Have residents take the downspout out and just have it run out into the yard. Again, this is all mandated by MWD. I know it's not a fun thing to think about or see, but it's going to have to happen. Right now, the lake is up, I believe, 8 feet. We're just a lot of water coming down. Lake Michigan. So here's some of the broken lids. Stormwater's getting in there. We got unsealed pipes that we have to fix. And then they're set on top of spacers here. Those all have to get sealed, and then going inside and internal spray seal. Very costly, but again, it's got to be done. All right, so here's the Jolly Homes flooding area. This is where Trustee Crowley opened her house, and we brought all these pictures in. Our estimated cost of the entire project to fix that area is $5 million, and again, we just heard that we'll be getting almost $500,000 to design the project. I know Trustee Christ has said it over the years. You got to be at the table. You got to put money into it. You got to be a stakeholder, and I think that's what helped. The village spent money on the study, and then we used that, and the amount of information we got from the residents was overwhelming too. So I think the money's coming from the county, not MWRD, but it's a good thing. So to get more than you ask for, you can't beat that. So last few years, we just wanted to show how much of the roads that we did resurface. That's all the green here. It's quite a bit. Although I saw in the public works slide that we have 49 miles of road, I think it was 49 miles. So there's a lot to get to. Superintendent Sperry does an audit every year, and he picks out the worst of the worst, and that's the ones we try to get done. All depends on how much the bids go out for. If we can get a good pricing on the bids, we can get more done. But that's what was done in the last couple of years. These are the ones that are this year. And then we're going out to bid in June next month to address some other areas. And then also all the parking lots, the commuter parking lots are going to get resurfaced as well. All right, so Robinson Engineering applied for a grant for us. We've heard a long time about all the people that live over here that use the train station. They have to walk around. He applied for this. They applied for this grant, and we're gonna get this path along the train tracks from Pulaski, 149th and Pulaski, all the way to the pedestrian bridge here at just before the train station. So high capacity sidewalk, decorative pedestrian lighting. We're going to look at some decorative fencing, and then some parking lot modifications, and of course the handicap ramp to this bridge. Right now there's steps that go up there. That's just not good. So we're going to get a handicap ramp there, sidewalk, lights, fencing. There was an option here with crossings here at Pulaski, but because of the high school down here, the county didn't want us to do that, so we had to step back a little bit on that. But that's a good project. We're pretty excited about it. Anyone that stands out there, especially if you're out there in the Rain Ready Community Garden, you just look down there and there's just a long straight path of grass, and we're like, why don't we put a path there? So that's coming soon. Trustee Christ was able to get a grant, another Access to Transit grant, to redo sidewalks and crosswalks in this downtown TUD area. All right, part of that was these nice pedestrian lighting. Well, unfortunately, the contractor didn't send IDOT, because 147th is a state road. They didn't send IDOT the poles, the information on the poles, until after the sidewalks are done. Of course, IDOT has to approve the poles, and they took a long time. They finally approved it. Contractor got the approval back. Then they went to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer says, "Oh, that takes months to make those." So they should have been installed last year. We're told now that Superintendent Sperry swears that it'll be June of 2019, and I'm just joking because we don't. It's not our project, and we're just here to oversee it, and we're doing the best. Superintendent Sperry is on the phone with these people all the time, trying to get them in, but you've seen the difference. You see the crosswalks better marked, the ramps, the ADA compliant ramps at each crosswalk. We had to take out some crosswalks. I don't know if you guys, anyone that lives on the east side of town, some of those crosswalks had to get taken out because they weren't a legal crosswalk. And again, it's a state road, and the state mandates it has to be a legal crosswalk. There's going to be more signage at the main crosswalks, especially at Central Park. And of course, we're very excited about the pedestrian lighting. That is not the banner that is going to be on our poles. Don't get confused. We're not Oak Forest. But we do intend to have some sort of nice decorative banners on all the poles. Let's see. So, Midlothian Police Department. Did you change this slide out? Oh, no. You did not. So, instead of Chief Delaney and Deputy Chief Rafferty sending their pictures to put on the slide, they sent a retired canine and a police car, which is fine. They're modest, but it gives me an opportunity to talk about the canine. Unfortunately, he had to retire. We are looking at getting that program back going. There's still some money available to us to get that going. I think it was a great program. Clearly, there's a lot of people in Midlothian like dogs. So, well, yeah, I watch Facebook. So we're looking to get that back. Just give us some time to make it work out. And then the car just shows us that we have been able to replace some of the old Crown Vics. One of them had a hole in the floor, I think, or something like that. So yeah, we've been able to replace some of them. Much more durable, long-lasting Ford, four-wheel drive, just a much more versatile car for our police department. Let's see. So, their mission statement, and I couldn't agree more, is to protect and serve the community. We police in a legal, ethical, and professional manner. You see some of our officers here. Again, I'm very proud of them. They've really taken to that motto, and been out there. And as you see the kids in the car, and it's just a wonderful thing to see the smiles. And we look forward more of that in the future. Is it raining? These cars. So they are constantly looking for new and innovative policing strategies. And of course, their goal is to provide excellent service to our residents, develop a working relationship with the citizens, and of course, reduce crime in our community. I think we've made big headways in that. No town is immune, and we suffer as much as every other town. But I think our chief and our deputy chief have made great strides in making that department accountable and responsive, and I think we'll see the results get better and better over time. So you can see, small department, lots of calls, 25,000, almost 26,000 calls. Now you can read the rest. If you've been one of those traffic stops, I'm sure you're not happy about that. But that's part of doing police work. You'd be amazed at how many criminals are caught at a routine traffic stop, blowing a stop sign or running a red light or just speeding. There's another slide later about distracted driving, cell phones, and the like. So traffic stops are important, and it's part of doing business, I guess. Midlothian Police Department does monthly checks on violent and sex offenders living in our community. We ask anyone has any suspicions, thoughts, questions, please call the police department. Rumors, accusations, just not a good thing. Just please call the police department. They'll give you the information you're looking for, and they'll be honest about it. So please call the police department. So here's some of the training that they've been working on: the rapid response, the rescue task force, and the crisis intervention. And they were kind enough to give me a slide for each one to explain it. So if your kids go to school in Midlothian, you'll know that our police officers are training in there to prepare for an event of an active shooter. God forbid this ever happens in our town or any town, but I think our officers will be prepared. The rescue task force did a tabletop exercise with our fire department and paramedics to train on the entering the warm zone and rendering aid to any of the victims. Again, this is unfortunately the world we live in today, and our police department is not shying away from it. They're hitting head on, and we got to be ready for it. Crisis intervention, they've all been trained. All of our officers have been trained in the mental health awareness. And there's another slide here that there's an officer, crisis intervention specialist on every shift. And you can see this, the crisis intervention specialist ensures proper care is afforded and follow-up is conducted with the mentally ill individuals. There's been a rise in that, and it's something that, again, our police department is hitting head on, So, again, we're not looking away, we're not turning our eyes, or turning our head, we're addressing it. And you see there was 50 calls for service involving individuals with mental health crisis just in 1 year. So it's important, and I'm very happy that our police department is addressing it. So I don't know if everyone heard about the gun seizure. I just wanted to preface this by saying this was just a civilian that called in a suspicious circumstance. It was over on Walgreens, over in Cicero. called in, said something wasn't right about this. There was a U-Haul truck, and they weren't acting right. This is all on a tip from a civilian, and they wound up, our officers were able to, 336 firearms that were stolen from the UPS facility in Memphis. So great work by our police department and our detectives, and of course that citizen that called that in. That's very important. We encourage everyone, call the police. If you see anything, you hear anything, call the police, and they'll be more than happy to come and say hi to you. Even if it's nothing, they'd rather come say hi to you than not. So our detective unit, they had 217 cases assigned to them, and you can see that they closed 165 of them, which gives them the 83%. That's pretty good. National average is only 45. That's a pretty good average, so kudos. Good job. We have partnered with the Crisis Center for South Suburbia. Wonderful group. We worked with School District 143, Central Park School, and we had a bake sale. They had a bake sale for them, but great group of people. They provide domestic violence assistance and counseling for all the family members, and of course, there's no cost to the village or the family. So, great group. If you ever need anything, domestic violence, these are people to go to. And our community policing events, and I think I saw Frank Chihoin, our community policing committee chairperson. Just on here, we just have the cop on top that was just recently done, but CPC just held their annual golf outing as well. Did very well. It was a very great event. Can't tell who's on top there. Is that Thebo? Right, get up. Okay. So coming up next Tuesday is the torch run. Our department is very, very active in the Special Olympics, and we'll be having a torch run down 147th Tuesday at 2, I think it is, starting at Kedzie, going to Cicero, and handing off the torch to Oak Forest. I believe Clerk Moskal and Deputy Clerk Clack are going to run with the officers this year. Is that what I heard? Is that on the spot there? No? If I can get back in town in time, I'll run with you guys. Speaking of Sergeant Thebo, he will once again be driving the 502, and the race is actually called the 5-0 at the Dirty O race. It's at the Joliet Speedway, correct? He did it last year, did well with 3 tires. I think was that last year? 2 years ago? He only had 3 tires at the finish, but gotta love him. The guy does great work. We can't say enough about Sergeant Thebo. I believe there's a slide here that shows $22,000 that they've raised this year. So they'll once again be on the back of the Torch Run shirt, and they got the award for outstanding financial support. Again, thank Sergeant Thebo so much for all his work for the Special Olympics, and we wish him the best of luck. When is the race? Coming up, right, July 22nd. All right, so just last Saturday, the police department did car seats checks and installations, and they gave away three car seats, and I believe this Saturday, right, is the fingerprinting, DNA. Again, it's very important. Next Saturday. Okay. Check the Facebook page. Everyone's got a Facebook page now, I think. Very important. Worst nightmare any parent could ever think about. But this is just one more way for us to help that situation out if it ever occurred. So please take advantage of these events that the police department is holding. Coffee with a cop seems a little cliche, but I'm sure there's donuts over there. But, yeah. October 3rd, please be there. Fire department jokes? Yeah, I have some of those too. And of course, I went to one of these, the senior seminar. Fantastic, just good information. We encourage every senior to show up at these things. Good information on scams, safety, beneficial programs. There's stuff I learned that I didn't know we had. So please take advantage of these things. They're partnering with Bremen High School for the Restorative Justice Program, and then the cadet program and the peer jury. Restorative justice is part of that peer jury where you know, you're a kid in high school and you just made a small mistake, but, you know, you don't really, you know, need to go to jail for it. So they have this program where you can sit with amongst your peers and get a restitution by their peers. So it's a great program. And the cadet program, Officer Lunge was here. I couldn't be prouder of this cadet program. Started back up. 14 kids from Bremen are involved in this. I believe they've made every meeting. This is all on their own. They're all volunteer. They're all participating in their own time. Officer Lunds is the one that's overseeing it. We've brought in the DEA, the FBI, Secret Service, any fashion of law enforcement you can think of was brought in to talk to these kids at different meetings. It's just been fabulous, and Trustee Crowley wanted me to say that there's 7 girls out of the 14, so that's a good thing. And here's the peer jury. Minor offense, they're not repeat violators, but they get to be, their punishment gets decided by their peers instead of in the criminal justice system, so I think it's a good thing. Otis Lang is very instrumental. From Dean Lang over at Bremen is very instrumental in this as well. The police department conducts traffic safety initiates monthly. There's 100% of their work on these traffic safety initiates is paid for by the Department of Transportation. $72,000 last year. Again, these are the ones that they're looking for seatbelt violations. They're looking for you talking on a phone. It's important. If you've ever been stopped and gotten a ticket, I apologize, but it's very important to do these things. That's why we're getting paid by the Illinois Department of Transportation. Every officer is assigned to minimally 2 intersections per shift. I see them out there at 147 Pulaski and 147 at Cicero. And of course, the radar trailer, and then police department was able to get some of these radar signs at the Central Park, 147 at Central Park Crossing and at Bremen High School. I think it works. I like it when the sign says thank you when I slow down. So I think it works. Statistics show that it works. So we're pretty happy about that. We had to move the one, if anyone was saying that the one on eastbound 147th kept going out. There was not enough sun to keep the solar power going. So that's been moved and it's working fine now. This is another thing that's recent. Obviously, home security systems on a rise. Everyone's buying them. They're getting cheaper. They're getting easier to install. What we're asking is that you come in and register your system, or at least your address, with us. So if a crime happens in your area, we know to come to you to try to get some footage off your video. Very important. Please contact the police department to get your system registered. We talked about this for years, even when I started with the Community Policing Committee 9-10 years ago. We want neighbors to know each other, and the best way to do that is hold some sort of block club, some sort of get-together with your group, your neighbors. These are very important to not only get to know your neighbors, but to know the routines of everyone. And they know, I think our saying was always, the better you know your neighbor, the more likely is you look out for them. So my neighbors, we've all lived there forever. We know what cars they drive. We know who should be there, who shouldn't be there. So we know to call. So these are just another way for residents to get together, talk, learn about each other, and of course, Chief Delaney and some of the officers are always willing to come stop and talk with you guys as well. Okay, so over the last couple of years, it's become quite evident to us that our police station is woefully inadequate. It's a 1950s police station in a 2019 world. We don't have men and women's locker rooms. We don't have adequate jail cells. We don't have any protection for our employees that work in the office. We don't have a sally port to safely bring our prisoners in and get them into the holding cells. So what we did with Trustee Crowley and Chief Delaney leading the drive here, we went out we did an RFP, a request for qualifications, and we narrowed it down to Healy Bender. Now we have to figure out how we're going to pay for it. So that's where I go back to where I talk about bond refinancing and bond restructuring. There's a good chance that we will be able to restructure one of our current bonds to pay for this. And I know that probably doesn't sit well with everyone, but after sitting through the meetings with all the other architectural firms and seeing what's out there, walking through our police station is it's tough. It's tough. We're not talking about the roof leaks. We're not talking about the antiquated AC units. We're not talking about an old bathroom. We're just talking about a police department that is not compliant with state, federal, all kinds of guidelines that we have to get up to speed with. And while this is going to be an expensive undertaking, I compliment Trustee Crowley for starting this conversation to say something's got to be done. And we also realize that the whole building, literally the walls are falling down around us. The back wall of the fire department fell down. There's roof leaks throughout the whole building. There's water coming up through the floor in the fire department. It's, again, a 60, 70-year-old facility that has got to be fixed. So we're looking at this first. So we'll keep everyone abreast of everything that the village is doing. We're not trying to hide anything. This will be out in the open. There'll be public meetings. But we have got to start the process of getting this done as soon as we can. So just wanted to be open and honest with you. This is something we're looking at. One of the ways we're looking at paying for it is through a bond restructuring, a current bond that we have and restructuring it, or a new bond. So very important. That's not what our police department will look like. We're not doing pie in the sky. We're not going to overspend taxpayer dollars. It's going to fit Midlothian. And well, I'm sure Chief would love something that big. He's a very modest person. Obviously, he didn't send a picture to put on the slide. He sent a dog. All right. Jean Bartecki's not here. I know she's one of the ones on Facebook, and I know Sandy Cortez, very big on this 9 p.m. routine. This is happening in every community across the country. People, kids are walking down the street, and they're shaking your door handles on your car. If it's open, they're taking everything in it. Mostly to change, because that's what most people leave in their car. So the 9 p.m. routine is just something to remind everyone, 9 o'clock, hit the clicker on your fob or go out and lock your car doors. It's going to deter crime. There's no ifs, two ways about it. It's going to deter crime. So don't leave mail in your mailbox. Make sure your garage is closed. And, of course, lock your house. When Lori and I moved to Midlothian 28 years, she's a lifelong resident. When I moved to Midlothian 28 years ago, we didn't lock the door. We didn't even close the main door. We'd actually go out to the store and leave the main door open just to the screen door was closed. Times have changed, and that's just the way we are in society. So very important. Just think about 9 o'clock, 9 p.m., and tell your neighbors, tell your friends. Again, we're very active on Facebook, Neighborhood Watch, CPC, The Village. God, there's got to be 6 or 7 Midlothian pages out there. Very active out there. Something happens, it's on Facebook. Our thing is, we go back to the whole communication thing, is how do we get that information out to everyone? And that's the tough part. But friends tell friends, neighbors tell neighbors. That's what we got to get back to. All right. And, of course, it should have been the first slide. I'll go to that. So, of course, the chief and deputy chief sent their pictures. And they look very good in their uniforms. Very good. So we'll start with this. Chief Hot Wagner's over here, and then our deputy chief, Joseph McClellan. So their mission is to protect life, property from fire, and other emergencies through immediate response, public education, and code enforcement. The department's purpose is to deliver the highest level of care, including emergency medical services to our residents. Just a quick story. Years ago, we relied on Bud's ambulance to do our medical transport. My wife had a terrible condition. We had to call Bud's, and it was the worst treatment she'd ever received in her life. And that was when I started to think, hey, maybe our guy should do it. And the board agreed, and how many years has it been now? 5 years now that Midlothian Fire Department is doing their own transport. I believe the level of care has increased dramatically, and because of that, the village receives $350,000 a year in insurance payments from everyone's insurance. So, great program, great guys, led by a great chief and deputy chief, and we couldn't be prouder. I'll skip over to pictures. Okay. Most everyone knows that we have two fire stations. One over in Holman and one over here by the village hall. Mostly because we have the train tracks, and sometimes we'll get a freight train. It'll block that intersection, and our guys can't get across. So, very important that we have these two. Back in our really bad years, ideas were thrown out about closing Station 2 just as a cost-saving measure. But in the long run, it was better for the village to keep both stations. So. Sorry. Keep going back to that one. What's wrong with that? They got a lot of pictures. They got a lot of time in their hand. I'm kidding. Wait till I get to Public Works. I was taught very early on that is not a fire truck. That is a fire engine. A truck has a ladder on it. Thought that was, never get that question in trivia. But, and then we got the new ambulances. Again, we were able to replace some of these ambulances over time. And the fire truck, the worst scenario we could have is someone being transported to the hospital with a stroke or severe heart attack, and one of the vehicles dying on it. So we've been very efficient and very lucky to replace some of these equipment, and we're very happy about that. All the other stuff they got. They got a lot of stuff. Let's see. Couple 3 years ago, we started on this structure rank thing. Basically, originally we had one fire chief and 3 deputy chiefs to handle. The 3 deputy chiefs would handle the shifts. So Chief Hotbinder brought to the board that we wanted to go to the structure rank thing. Just made more sense. And this is how the fire department is laid out now. A chief, deputy chief, captain, lieutenant, 3 engineers. And I'd like to point out the 7 part-time firefighters. We used to have 15. Well, they're finding full-time jobs in other departments. We don't have any full-time openings because our full-timers want to stay. So what I'm asking is, if you know anyone, please get them involved in the fire service. We need part-time firefighters. What the part-time firefighters do is fill in on the shifts to give us a complete roster. And when we're down to 7, now it's causing us a lot of overtime because the full-timers have to get called back to cover shifts, which we don't want to do either because their shifts are designed to be 24 on, 48 off because of wear and tear on the body, carcinogen protection. So please, if you know anyone, get involved in the fire service, and police, and Public Works. Why not? We had a new full-time. We did have one full-timer leave. So Richard Moore is our new full-time firefighter, and then we were able to get 3 new part-timers. I thought one of those. Okay. Here's the rundown of the fire department. You see that 2,465 calls, 1,528 emergency calls. It's a busy department for a small town. Their police and fire are very busy. I thought Chief thought it was important to add that 9,000 feet of fire hose was tested. It's important. Here's some of the classes that they attended. Fire apparatus engineer, firefighter 3, vehicle and machinery ops, incident safety officer. You can read. 6,314 training hours in 2018. So they don't just fight fires. There's so many other things they do, and when they don't really have downtime, they're always training. And I'm up there almost every day, and almost every day I come in, they're doing something in that fire department. They're in the hose tower, they're in the fire smoke tower. They're always doing something. So even on National Night Out, they come out and they cut up a car. I don't know why they cut up a car. The door was unlocked, but that's be that as may. Second week of October is the Fire Prevention Week. So that means it's coming up October 6th through 12th. Very active in the community, and we talk about the warm and fuzzy. Everyone loves a fireman. You know, they're there to save your lives and everything, but they really get out there and into the schools and in daycares, and they talk to the kids and bring them to the station. You know, give them little fire hats and stuff. But yeah, it's just very important. A town like Midlothian, that's what Midlothian's about, is interacting with the communities, interacting with the kids, and that's what our police and fire do. The goals is the MSP and the annual inspections on each business. So I think the next slide is it's a software that allows the fire department to have a pre-plan for every business in town. Very important. You don't want our firefighters to walk into a building they know nothing about. We'll get to the building department later, but Superintendent Weiner, our building department superintendent, very active out in the community, very communicative with the police and fire department. When he sees something bad, he lets them know, so don't go in there. But this program, like I said, their slogan is pre-plan fast, respond smart, keep your firefighters safe while lowering costs to your community. If anyone was out there watching the meat market burn down, just hear about the fire doubles in size every minute. That was an overwhelming experience to watch, and I don't ever want to see that again in town. So I appreciate every effort you guys do to prevent the fires. Our Paramedics of the Year award last year was James Ditzler and Keith Johnson. And I was able to attend this one year, this Fire Procure over at St. Xavier University. Great event. Our guys really go all out to try to raise as much money as they can for pediatric cancer. Jack was our guy. What a great kid. Fill the Boot. They were able to raise $3,700 this year, or last year, and scheduled again in September this year. You see them out there, please put a dollar in the boot. All right, Engineer Kelly, he's a chairperson for this Road to Help. So he was able to raise $16,800 for this Road to Help. It's to raise awareness for suicide prevention, PTSD for first responders and veterans, as well as addressing bullying and effects on our youth. I've been able to do some ride-alongs with the police department. Very fortunate, and see a lot of good things. Unfortunately, not being able to do a ride-along with the fire department. I'm not sure I could handle some of the stuff they see, and I can't thank Engineer Kelly enough for getting involved in this program and raising the money that he does. It's a very, like I said, I'm an electrician. I like what I do. I just don't know if I could handle the things that they see. That's just, you know. So thank you, Engineer Kelly. So first aid and CPR, they held 6 classes in 2018 and 4 in 2019. Here's the upcoming dates for this year. Please get a hold of the fire department if you're interested in learning more about CPR and first aid. Please get on board. And their upcoming events. CPR training again, the senior lunch blood pressure checks, Midlothian Library summer reading, touch-a-truck, that's Saturday. Parade of Lights every year at the St. Christopher Fiesta, Fire Procure, Road to Help, Association Raffle, Fill the Boot, Fire Prevention Week, and Pancake Breakfast. You guys have a lot going on. Wow. They never sit still. I got to give them that. And of course, they're on Facebook, and please get a hold of them. And here's our Public Works. The forgotten child, I always say. No, and we talked earlier, 49 miles of streets, 47 miles of water mains, and 19 miles of sanitary sewer. That's a lot. It's a very small group. You'll see a picture later of the group. They get a lot done. It's not just about plowing streets, you know, it's so much other things that they have to do, and there's a slide that tells that, but I can't say enough about our Public Works Department and Superintendent Sperry for doing everything they can and helping out as many people as you can. It's a great thing you guys do, and I know most people in town really like you. Most people. So anyway, yeah, it's not just snow plowing, tree trimming, storm sewer, sidewalks. We're working on a project in the northeast quadrant to eliminate some of the trip hazards, potable water, catch basins, and branch pickup. So we got a lot going on, as always, and it's year-round. It's not just wintertime. They sent pictures. That was nice. Ty Swanson, Assistant Superintendent, 2 years now, 3 years? 5 years, I forget, time flies. And Kristen is their administrative assistant. And there's their little group, 13 members. That's our whole public works department right there. And the guy here, third from the left, he's a mechanic. He don't get out there, so he don't count. No, he counts. But it's a small group of people, and they get a lot done, and we couldn't be prouder of them. Oh, the new member, Nick Damiani, started in January this year. Keep in mind, I mean, and I've said this to other people other times, a lot of us are retiring in the next 8 to 10 years. A lot of people in my age group. I don't know how we're going to fill the positions. I don't know how we're going to fill police and fire and public works. There's just not enough people out there. So it's just something, you know, as I go to career days and I talk to the kids, I always stress them that there's other opportunities for you. You know, I'm not taking away from college at all, but, you know, we need help too. You know, and yeah, just think about it. Some of the new vehicles, again, replacing old, worn-out, dangerous vehicles is very important. Cost-effective for the village as far as maintenance, and then, of course, most important, the safety of our employees. Okay, now on to Superintendent Weiner and the building departments. So, Superintendent Weiner joined us 243 days ago, right? And we needed some help. We needed some help in the building department. We were not up to code. We were not up to speed. We were outdated on so many different things. So we interviewed Mr. Weinert, and he graciously decided to come to work for us. Since that time, we've been able to update our codes. Well, we'll get through all that, but I just wanted to personally thank you for everything you've done in the last 243 days. So their primary purpose is health, welfare, and safety of Midlothian residents. Again, it all falls down on the building department. If we allow someone to put a deck in and it collapses, that's the building department's fault. If someone gets sick, or not sick, but if there's problems in a remodel or construction and something fails and somebody gets hurt, that's our building department. So health, welfare, and safety of residents is top priority. This year, the village trustees adopted the latest building codes, ensuring the minimum standards are adhered to, which will improve the quality of life and the value of real estate in the village. That can't be overstressed enough. That's what it's about, is increasing, you know, the property values across all of Midlothian. So the insurance services organization came in. They audit building department codes, and they also the fire department. What they do is they create a score for our town, and that score is generally looked at by insurance companies, home insurance companies, to guide them on what to charge for your premiums. So the better we do on our ISO ratings, stands to reason the better, cheaper the insurance you'll get. So you'll see here, the blue is us, the taller one on the left, the blue, and the other three is county, state, and national average. So right away, we were able to outperform our competitor, you know, county, state, and national. In this category, whoops, wrong way. Commercial codes, big jump there. We were able to outperform our competitors there. Or, I'm sorry, not our competitors. And then residential codes as well. The ones that you see these two here, the electrical and mechanical, these are performing commercial duties by electrical and mechanical duties are performed by tradesmen. We do have tradesmen doing those inspections, so that number will go up. But we're doing quite well there. You see 100% out of 100 on those three. Keep it the wrong one now. And then I want to get to this screen here because this is the overall score for commercial. Again, we outperformed county, state, and national. That's something to be commended for. I appreciate it. Thank you. And same thing with residential. And I don't mean to go through, I didn't want to go through those too quick. It's just, a lot of work was put into that to make this happen. Again, we were way behind. And Superintendent Weiner has spent a lot of time amongst all of his other duties, getting us up to speed and up to code, so to speak. And we're performing very well now. Got room to grow, we always do, but I'm confident that he's going to continue the pursuit, and we'll get even better, and we'll get a better ISO rating, and hopefully your home insurance will go down even more. So Trustee Cravney held a town hall meeting recently about the community rating system. If you missed it, it's online, it's on YouTube, correct? This is a community rating system. It's administered by FEMA, and she was able to explain a lot. There's a lot of questions about the CRS. So here's some of the questions, her answers. It's part of the National Flood Insurance Program. It's voluntary, but it's recognized and encourages community floodplain management activities that exceed the minimum requirements of NFIP. The key is that by earning points for the activities you exceed, you get a classification. And again, because of all the work that the building department does, Trustee Cavney, and I think Robinson Engineering, Carrie, Public Works, we were able to come in the first year of the 7. So you should be getting a 15% discount on your flood insurance. So our goal is to continue to go up this scale and get a better rating, and it's pretty impressive to come in at first time as a 7. So here was the letter that I received announcing that we were a Class 7 or Grade 7, and then giving us the 15%. Again, if you haven't received your discount, if you pay FEMA flood insurance and you haven't received your discount, please get a hold of us, and we'll make sure that we'll figure out what happened and make it happen. So they work with the elevation certificates. Basically, that's their tool to determine the floodplain, and it's used to provide elevation information necessary to ensure compliance with the community floodplain management ordinances. And then also MWD has its also a watershed management ordinance. So it's a lot that goes into it, and I just wanted to say thank you and appreciate it. And so we talked earlier about that LOMA for the downtown area, and that's part of the elevation certificates to figure out if it should really be in the floodplain or not. So we'll hopefully get that looked into soon. And then here is the 4 myths that Trustee Cavney brought to my homeowner's insurance covers flooding, and that's almost no homeowners insurance policies cover flood damage. That's why the federal government created the NFIP. I believe you could probably get a rider. You could probably pay for a rider on your homeowner's insurance, but it doesn't come with your homeowner's insurance. So that's a big myth. I can't get flood insurance because I'm not in a high-risk zone. That's not true. Anyone who lives and owns property in an NFIP participating community can buy flood insurance. Residential, business, condo, apartment, and the contents will be insured as well. So another myth. I don't need flood insurance because FEMA gives disaster assistance. Another myth, because FEMA can only give disaster relief. Let's see. Did you have that in there? So it has to come down from the president, has to declare disaster, and then it comes in 2 forms. Small Business Administration loan, which is paid back with interest, or a FEMA disaster grant, which is only about $5,000 to $7,000 per household. That wouldn't come anywhere near close to what you're expected to probably have a $30,000 minimum damage to your home for a flood. So, and then number 4 is even if my house did flood, it wouldn't be by much. Well, statistics show that only 1 inch of water in a home could cause more than $25,000 in damage. So these are important. Again, flood insurance, you should be looking at your policy and seeing that you are covered one way or another, or get a hold of us and we can put you in contact with the right people. So for more information, get on the village website or go to the building department, and then of course it's on YouTube. Let's look up Village Midlothian Town, CRS Town Hall. All right. Community economic development. we start with the Natalie Creek Trail. So when we found out that MWD was going to do that Natalie Creek project, stormwater project, the idea was brought up by the Midlothian group, and Helen Lekovich and Karen Kreis and others, and so they went out searching for money to put a trail along the creek. We thought that would be a real nice addition to once the creek is redone, we could put a trail along it. So fortunately, they were able to go out and get a $317,000 Invest in Cook grant to do a phase 1 engineering. And you can see the partners: Midlothian, Oak Forest, Crestwood, Robbins, and Blue Island. You'll see in a map later where this trail goes. Again, they thought it would complement, we all thought it would complement the flood control project. And then Terra Engineering and Farnsworth Group are on the steering committee as well, that meets monthly. So here's, probably hard to see, the green, the solid green is the trail. That's off-street trail. Starts over here at 151st in Oak Park and comes straight down. There's a couple fingers that come in through Oak Forest, and then it kind of meanders along the creek over to Costner, and there should be an on-street up to Crestwood to tie into the CalSag, and then another finger over here that goes through down Clare Boulevard through Robbins into Blue Island and connect again to the CalSag Trail. County is very interested in connecting trails. They would like you to be able to get on a bike in Joliet and ride it all the way downtown. So we're very fortunate that they came up with some of the money to do at least the phase 1. So the phase 1 is, so the project will probably be completed, would probably be $3 or $4 million, but that's, again, that's a guess. That's why you do the design. And so it'd be a great addition. Like I said, it'd be some on-street and then some off-street that go along the trail. Just beginning to design it. There'll be, again, lots of community meetings, resident meetings, and hopefully we can get this done. This tells you where the off-street, and then, again, all the stuff is available to you guys. You don't have to memorize everything. We'll have it all available at the village, or like I said, YouTube or hard copies. The other initiative was the Keep Midlothian Beautiful program. Last year, July 25th, Midlothian became a proud affiliate of the Keep America Beautiful program. It says that over 620 affiliates across the nation. You see some of their values: inspire, integrity, teamwork, passion. If you know the people that are on the Keep Midlothian Beautiful committee, they're nailing it, because that's what they're about: inspiring people and the passion and the teamwork. That's they're really nailing what the whole business is about. And you see over here, the goal is end littering, improve recycling, and beautifying America's communities. I think that's really understating what the program's about. It's not just about picking up litter. It's about improving the quality of life in your community. It's going to raise property value. These are proven statistics across the nation. Anyone that's joined these programs reduces crime, increases property values, and just makes a better community quality of life across the whole community. So I think that, we kind of understate the goals. And so here's our certificate of becoming an affiliate. And this picture here on the right, the picture in the middle is a dear friend of the Village of Midlothian, Jacqueline Hill, who inspiration was to move on with this program. And her daughter, Helen, and then Chris Parker, and of course, Trustee Christ, are continuing on with this program in her honor. All right, so again, here, the second paragraph of the goal I just wanted to highlight, attract more businesses and property values go up when our streets are clean and green. When our parks are clean and green, kids come out to play. A clean, green, and beautiful neighborhood will experience a drop in crime. That's proven statistics across the country. We're not making anything up. This is stuff that has been proven. And again, we're talking about property values and just a nicer community. And then, so every year, Keep America Beautiful cleans up over 100 million pounds of litter. 100 million pounds. That's a lot of litter. And then you see it delivers $236 million in measurable benefits. So great program. Can't be more happy to be involved with it. And beautiful artwork. Tony Pachota, I think. Pachota is the one that came up with this artwork. So, and of course, we go back to adopt a block and adopt an alley. This isn't just about one day of cleanup. This is every day. This should be an everyday thing. And it's about, you know, educating residents and, you know, making it part of your lifestyle to pick up garbage. And, you know, it's a work in progress, but we're going to keep at it, and I think it's going to do great things for the village. Just in the first year, they were able to receive the President's Circle Recognition Award for Standards of Excellence. That's pretty impressive in just 1 year. And then, of course, on April 27th, we had the first Great Midlothian Cleanup. We wanted to highlight some of the people, the School District 143, Bremen High School football, and Bremen girls soccer. I believe we had 100, Karen, about 100 people, a little more. Great turnout. And you see there the results. 1 ton of trash and rubbish and debris were collected. That's pretty impressive. So, again, this is something that we want to educate people on. We want them to get on board and make this an everyday thing, not just a one-day thing. And the weather was beautiful today, I think, right? Yeah. All right, so we'll go on to the stormwater capital management plan. So, again, we talked about flooding, and we know that Midlothian floods, and we're going to try to do something about it. So, 2017, the village requested from CMAP to advance recommendations from the Rain Ready plan that we were the first in the nation to approve, and then the 147th Street Corridor plan. We were awarded the $123,000 grant from CMAP to produce this study, this plan, and the village adopted it on May 8th. So Strand and Associates was the engineer working on it. A great group of people. The product they put out was phenomenal, and it addressed and identified so many things in the community. I think a lot of people know, but some things we didn't know. So great group of people, great plan, and then we got some slides here to go more in depth into it. But so here's how they kind of looked at our Rain Ready plan, and it kind of guided the beginning, and then they came up with this technical memorandum number 1, and then they came up with the number 2, and then they came up with the draft, and then finally brought to the board the final plan. But again, we'll get to. So here's all the people that were involved, all the groups, all the partners, and again, this is the things that Trustee Christ talks about is, you know, getting in here and getting to know all these people and getting them to become partners of the village. And we're very fortunate to have all these people included. And then, you know, somehow, you know, you get these people included, and then all of a sudden this, you know, University of Illinois Urbana comes and they want to do a soil study. You know, it's crazy how it really starts to snowball. And people like success, and they want to get involved in success, and I think we're having a lot of success here in the village of Midlothian. So there's the Nally Creek project. So they were data gathering and so they're using existing plans and existing conditions, and they're evaluating it. That's how they started. That's the village inventory. And they looked at our watersheds. They looked at our topography, and most of you may or may not know that Cicero going east, we're pretty flat, and that's hard to drain water when you're flat. And of course, they checked soils. They did soil samples. They also looked at our existing conveyance systems, our land cover, and our open space. And then these are the plans and studies that they looked at to help build this plan, their plan. Rain Ready, Jolly Homes, Midlothian Creek Green, 147th Street Corridor, all these plans here. Active Transportation Plan. They identified these 4 areas. You see here, Jolly Homes, Belly Button Hill, Nally Creek, and Bremen Heights. So we also have the Trib C over here to the upper left. That's another area that Crestwood and Bremen Township have come to us and talked to us about getting on board with engineering study to take care of that problem over there too. So 5 really areas, but this plan looked at these 4. And again, they looked at topography, the development of floodplain, our increased impervious surface, outdated infrastructure, which we talked about, and then our standards. So again, we're flat. We had a lot of development in what was originally natural retention. We have increased impervious surface, and we have outdated infrastructure. So we got everything, and they looked at everything, and so section 6, they identified some village-wide opportunities. We need to do a better job at educating our residents on what they can do on their own property to help with flooding on their own property. Storm management system modeling, topography survey, field data collection. We're looking into storm sewer cleaning and rehab. Televising comes first. Televise it, see what the problem is. We had a problem on 147th and had to televise it. And again, that's a state road, so the state finally came out and did something. But over years, the soot and the grime and the dirt all goes down into that sewer, and it just keeps building up and building up. So at some point, you got to get in there and clean it out. And then updates to the Village MS4 program, and then finally that rain fund. There's got to be a way to pay for all this stuff. Again, this is lots of money. This is millions of dollars, and we started talking about a rain fund. So that's something that, again, we're community meetings, resident meetings, nothing be hidden. It'll all be out in the open. These are just ideas that we're putting out there. Prioritization of the potential opportunities. They went at how much area will they capture in that area? Will they have to buy land? Infiltration, relative construction costs, and of course the benefits of properties. Here is the one area in Jolly Homes along 151st. Anyone that lives over there knows that street floods quite a bit. This is Central Park School. Right now they have a couple small retention areas here. I don't know if you can call them retention areas, but I think that's what they're for. So there's an idea about making a much larger one. Is there another click on this one, Alan? Yeah. Okay. So turning what they have now from small retentions into a 12.7 acre feet of storage basin, and of course redoing the conveyance system, the stormwater pipe along 151st. Along with that, they've talked about maybe doing some green infrastructure along the parkways, maybe just a swale or something. I don't know if although the parkways belong to the village, residents have to take care of it. So we talked about maybe some swales here. So great idea, but again, we'd have to work with the school district and. It's great ideas, just a lot of work, a lot of money, and that's why we're very fortunate to get that grant for that area. We're talking about Belly Button Hill area. The idea was to turn the big park into a retention. Again, you have to work with the park district. There's a lot of things that go into it, and these are just concepts. And so again, turning it into a detention basin, 15.8 acres feet of storage, and then another one to the south. All right, on to the land bank. Karen, Trustee Kreis and Trustee Killey are on the board of the South Suburban Land Bank and Development Authority. They have done quite a bit of work in town already. They were able to acquire these properties, these long vacant properties next to Cousins on 147th. And fortunately, the owner of Cousins decided to pick them up, and he's going to turn it into Gracie's Wine Bar. I've been in there about a month ago, near completion, kind of a cool-looking place. So we'll go in there and check them out, and hopefully they'll be open soon. And then here's some of the other properties that they've acquired. And if you recognize these, the one here in Waverly was the executive carpet cleaning, and then the old nail school, which was originally the Yamaha, right? That was Yamaha. And then, you say it all the time, Karen, penny pinchers over here on east side of town. So they were able to acquire these, and we're hoping that we can get someone to come in. The land bank and the village are currently seeking users for these areas. What the land bank does is come in, they clear the title, and they can get through all the red tape that a village cannot get through, and they have the authority from the state to do this. So great people to work with. They come in, they see property, they acquire it, they get rid of all the red tape, all the back taxes, get the title, and then they can put it out to market. All right. Okay, so looking to the future, there's some things that we still need to work on and keep focusing on, but that one we keep talking about, that downtown area, we're kind of stuck in the mud there, you know, and there were zoning issues that we're addressing. There's the floodplain issues. There's no setbacks. There's no parking. You know, so there's a lot of things that are affecting that downtown area. But one of them is that floodplain, because it's just not marketable because they can't invest the money into it to do anything with it. So got to look at that. Like I said, we want to refresh that downtown area. We're looking for unique, you know, niche businesses that we can complement the train station with, and you know, Amazon and Walmart, you know, they're killing all the small businesses. So we're looking for things that are unique in a niche that can withstand themselves over time. So that's what we're talking about, you know, refresh downtown area, arts, music, something new and fresh, you know. And again, I'd really like to see the village go to monthly water billing. Again, I'd like to hear from the residents to see if that's something they want. I just think it's more budget friendly with the residents. And then working on that marketing plan for our village, especially our downtown. Easy access to hometown charm. I think that was Bob Peters that came out with that. I can't remember. Was that Bob Peters? Yeah. I love it. It's a great catchphrase. All right, we're nearing the end here. So bottom line, I just want to thank everyone. If your name isn't up there, I'm sorry, you should be up there, because it really does take every single one of you, including the residents. Clerk Moscow said at the beginning, it's all about you. You know, the village board, none of this that you saw tonight would be possible without the village board. So, and the department heads working so hard, constantly working so hard. You know, I don't know, they never quit. You know, they never give up. They keep working, and like I said at the beginning, you know, this whole part-time trustee thing, that's a myth. They haven't worked part-time in years. So, but all the committees, Helmut Lip over here with the technology committee, videotape and everything, all the commissions, committees, just thank everyone. Thank you all so much, and looking forward to a great 2019. I think that's it. Oh, and the parade. Sandy Cortez here is kind of leading the charge with the committee for the parade. June 29th, steps off at 11. There's flyers going around. We have them at the Village Hall. Please get your organization or group, whatever you want. You know, come in as an individual. I don't care. Just get in the parade. It'll be fun. And I believe that's it.